I'm Northy, and I'm an undergrad at UW-Madison. And this series, Love Letters, is something that I did for my photo classes with Tom Jones. And I guess the story behind these they happened by an accident, really. For the photo class, I was doing something else that I absolutely hated, and when I gave up, I went to a silly romance novel that my grandma gave me. But I had placed my wine glass on top of it, and I saw just from the bottom all these weird distortions, and I was like, why not? So I started shooting those instead, and it's a project that I've been working on for about 2.5 years, and it's had a lot of sort of manipulations done to it. And these are some of the ones from earlier in the series, but some of my favorites. So how I actually did these was kind of more like how Richard did his, where I shot through a wine glass, but it's the stemless, so digital camera on a tripod, wine glass, small romance novel cover. And then obviously Photoshop editing to edit out some of the unnecessary text and whatnot. But I think what captivated me most was how the distortion added so much depth and really motives to these characters that you probably don't get from the books, because a lot of times these books are kind of, you know, thrown in with the trashy novels and whatnot. So the storylines are repetitive, and obviously the characters are somewhat one-dimensional, but I think people read them for a reason, and I also read them for a reason. I have a collections handed down for me, so yeah, for me they were a growing experience too, because I started out sophomore year, so I was 20. I'm now 23, so it was really growing as a person, as a woman, and as an artist. And yeah, I guess any questions for me?
How many are in the series?
Total, right now, there are 22.
Wow.
So this is just
Jan,
a small...
we gotta find more books.
Yeah,
The other
if you have any romance novels, send
Yeah,
my way.
So the actual information came from this woman right here, your maternal grandmother, and her paternal grandmother.
Look at that.
Yes.
So now what happens if you put something in the wine glass?
I haven't tried that yet. I will admit. So far it's just been empty wine glasses.
Empty wine glasses. I have to say tonight, I've read all of these. I recognize the titles, and you're right. It does give it a depth that, you know, they're trash novels. Fast reading entertainment, but this, I've really stopped and thought about the characters that are in these, and it's like, wow, I never thought of that perspective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's just, I'll have to go back and reread it. Give it back to me.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it for me too was, I wouldn't consider myself part of the feminist genre by any means, but I think femininity does come up a lot in my work, and I think that's because it's what I know. I have 4 sisters, one of them. She lives here somewhere too. So I mean, we've had a house with a lot of women, and I think it's part of what I want to do as an artist is represent a really unique female experience. So I'm really happy with what I've accomplished so far, and I hope to continue on with it for sure.
Come on, from a long line of matriarchs, young lady. They homesteaded in this area on 3 different generational lines, right here in Sheboygan. So this is a homecoming of sorts. Oh, so proud of you, honey. So proud. Through a wine glass. I just would never have thought of that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you tonight.
It's on Milwaukee a year ago, and this is my thesis work that I did. And at the time I was actually going through a pretty bad breakup, so I guess that's what inspired these pictures. I guess I was focusing on, I'm pretty obsessed with like earth and nature, and I wanted to bring that into like the idea of being broken and losing somebody. So I guess what I did is, I know it's hard to like talk about this, it's been so long. Yeah, I was just trying to map out how a person is hurt when they go through a breakup, and
How long ago was it?
it's been I think 2 years since that. So I mean, I'm completely over it. So it's kind of hard to relate to these pictures anymore. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you don't have to, we do. So it's always there for us.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the idea of the broken twigs?
I guess it's just like they're using natural materials, and I wanted to use natural materials because it's like objects that come from nature, and over time they can become fractured, and then I guess like say a tree dies, and then later on another tree regrows, and it's just like this process of healing and just regrowth, and a person can become injured or I guess emotionally hurt, and then over time you get over it. And
It shows a tremendous amount of healing in those pictures.
yeah.
I have a couple of orthopedic surgeons in my acquaintance that would love that hand. Just very well done. Awesome, very well done. And the roots. You grow where you're planted. I love that.
Get
Yeah.
it for 'em, Joyce?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
was
you need it someday,
thinking-
right?
I was thinking about like x-rays when I did these. So it's like kind of mimicking an x-ray. So it's like bones and just seeing underneath a person.
Did you have to adhere those to the hands, or were they just set?
Yeah, I used glue.
That's cool.
They are cool.
Again, my name is Jessica Kaminsky, and I just want to also thank you guys for all being here. It's really a pleasure to be part of a group show, and I live in Milwaukee, so it's nice to have a show in a different part of the state, so thank you for that. Is anybody here a night owl? Yeah. The reason I brought it up is because I've been realizing as I get older that there's been parameters kind of set up for us as people. One of them being, for instance, the 9-to-5 workday. I've always been the type of person that has struggled through realizing that I don't adhere to those types of things. I mean, I often have trouble sleeping at night because my mind just becomes really vibrant at 11, 12 o'clock at night when it's time to go to bed. This work here that I've started is something called the Home Project. And, you know, we had many conversations about that. I actually do have roots in San Francisco. My mom and dad met there, and my mom grew up there briefly. So started to have this conversation. One of the things I asked her was, what did you bring with you from your first home to this new home? And her response was her books. Like, that was one of the #1 things that she brought. Secondly, she does have a PhD, and so she had her dissertation published into a book. So in this particular image, I ended up, this dress here is made of pages from her book. And honestly, I will try to be as clear with you with words, but I do feel like I make sense of things more visually. But some of the things that I was thinking about in this image was feeling kind of like disconnected in your location. I mean, she's wearing a dress that would be more appropriate for a summertime. It's a cocktail light type of dress, but she's being photographed. This was winter in Wisconsin. It literally was 8 degrees that day.
Oh my God.
I just want you to know, like, I'm not like torturing people with I mean, the thing with a production like this is that you know, I have a makeup artist, I have assistants ready for the day. We have a group of people, so when you wake up that morning and it's 8 degrees, I did have a conversation with her. I don't want anyone to get hurt, obviously, but she was very gung-ho about it, and she's like, in a way, it's kind of just jumping into this, you know, like I'm in Wisconsin, it's like, what better way to acclimate, but, so anyway, there's a disconnection here between, you know, it's this idea of she's wearing her book here in Wisconsin, how much is that really supporting her, and if you want to go deeper into that, even the world of academia, I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but that can even be kind of touch and go, you know, if you're not keeping up to par as far as publishing work and, you know, doing your research and things like that. So even as a career, how supportive is that? And in my mind, I always saw these images as going together. So she is also in this other image. And to me, this one is more about the concept of being really comfortable in your own home. So I was able to, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Kickstarter. It's a program to raise money and funds for personal projects. I was able to raise some money, and we shot this in San Francisco near her home. And then the garment that she's wearing is just kind of, the feeling I wanted to go for was just that comfort. I think the positive thing about home in this regard is that you feel comfortable there, but the other part of it is sometimes you're afraid to leave it. You're afraid to maybe explore the unknown for something you know so well. So there's elements to me in this photograph, you know, there's something that's underneath her dress that's kind of sparkling to hint at that idea of like, you know, if you could get out of your comfort, could you grow into something bigger than yourself? This is just the beginning of the project. I have a lot of ideas for further ones. The next, I don't know if I want to call them dresses as much as sculpture, maybe. But the next item I'd like to make is an upside-down tree dress. I recently had a friend who kind of had to move to Florida to find work, and it's not something she really wanted to do. So I thought my idea is that the dress is, the branches are coming out from the top and like this splay of leaves that come down from the bottom that are made out of trees and things that represent Wisconsin, but I would love to go to Florida and photograph it in those swampy, you know, the Spanish moss and a totally different kind of nature that's down there. So I see this as continuing, and what you're seeing here is the very beginnings of it.